Their journey began in Yissachar, but they were scattered across the face of the earth, each one with its own beat, and each one with its own rhythm. As the dry bones are being revived, the beat begins again at the heart of the tribe.
Well, hello and welcome to Heart of the Tribe. My name is Chelle Wagner, and I'm so glad that you came to view this broadcast today. I am so excited. Leigh Caruthers and I are going to continue what we began last Sunday on Let's Talk Torah, when we saw in the Torah portion how it was dealing with the different body systems. We both got so excited, and we've been doing so much study. So I hope you will join me in welcoming my friend Leigh Caruthers to join me today. Hi, Leigh.
Hi, Chelle. Thank you so much for having me. And I am really excited to get into this today. There is so much I have found, and I just can't wait to see when we put it together how this looks. I bet it's going to be amazing.
Yeah, it's so interesting. So last week on the Heart of the Tribe show, I had done kind of a big presentation on the tribe of Yahudah. And so what I thought for today, because we didn't get to go over that system, what you and I got to talk about was the tribe of Levi, which I'd covered before, and I'm trying to think, which system did we cover? It was the cardiovascular system. That's right, with the blood. So much has happened that my brain's just going blank without notes.
I understand.
It's so funny, yes. Right? But welcome, Tammy. Welcome, Helen and David. We are good. It's so good to see you here. We're glad for everybody who's joining us. I'm going to go ahead and just give a quick recap of Yahudah. And then you're going to go into the respiratory system that goes along with them. So we're really excited about that. So this is what I had been given when I was studying out the tribes a long time ago in 2004, that the heart of understanding Yahudah is the kingship, the right to rule. All right. So the scripture that Yah had given me was Psalm 103:19. Yahweh has prepared his throne in the heavens, and his kingdom rules over all. When he showed me this one night back in 2002, it was that all these different scriptures that were like a heart cry, because all the tribes were alive and well, and he would be regathering them. This is the scripture that he gave me then. So Yahudah, I thought this was kind of interesting, and I didn't cover this last time, but it's interesting how he rose to kingship, because he was he was fourth in line, right? Wasn't necessarily favored by his father, nor his brothers, nor by being his rank at birth, because he was fourth in the line. Yet he took the leadership. And I thought that was interesting. I had seen that as a quote from Yair Davidi on his site, britam.org. So when I was studying this a few weeks ago, now, not even 2 weeks ago, right? Yah told me, he was talking to me. It was another one of those download times. And he was telling me how the systems lined up with the tribes, the 12 body systems. And he showed me that night. And this is what I ended up sharing with you, Leigh, and that the respiratory system lined up with Yahudah, that his name means praise, and that our respiratory system, responsible for our breathing, it's the lungs, the Farnex, the Larnix, the trachea, the bronchi, the lungs, the diaphragm. It adds oxygen to the blood and removes carbon dioxide from the blood. Okay, and so that covers my little bit of medical knowledge. I know, right? But Leigh has a lot to share with us, so I'm going to be removing my screen, and I'm going to let Leigh speak to us about the respiratory system. And I'm so excited about what you have to share with us.
Well, I've got to tell you, when you brought this up and I started looking at it, at first I was just a little overwhelmed. It was like, I've never done anything like this before. And I actually dug out nursing notes that, I'm not going to lie, a little PTSD hit me from studying for boards. But boy, what a journey the Father has put me on with this. And it's amazing what I found. And I prayed about it, and this is where He led me. And I've never been one to, I've had the classes with Dr. Pigeon in the beginning, the learning the biblical Hebrew, yhvh, and never really understood gematria or the numbers. And I prayed about it, and the Father was like, this is the direction you're going. We're going. This is what I need you to show is my design from the beginning. So here's where I ended up. So the yod, which is the 10th letter, so 10, it's the hand of redemption work. And to me, as I prayed, the Father has showed me, that's the active process of inspiration, inhalation, and which is the diaphragm contracts, pulling down, increasing the intrathoracic space, causing the pressure to decrease, allowing the air to enter the lungs from the atmosphere. So to me, that hand of redemption or work is literally that action of the diaphragm being pulled down so that the oxygen can enter the lungs. And then exhalation is twice as long as inspiration by relaxation of the respiratory muscles. So completely saw that hand of redemption or work in that completely. That's what the Father brought me to, and it just blew my mind. So then we get to Dalet, which is the 4th letter, and there's 7 parts to the respiratory pathway. Dalet is pathway. So that blew my mind. I was like, wow, here we are. It's a pathway. And there's 7 parts to the respiratory system, which is a big pathway. And there's that creation number 7. I know we talked about that in the cardiovascular system, and we're going to see this number repeated. So like you said, I put in there the same thing you had, which was the pathway. Our whole respiratory system is a pathway.
Wow.
So the hey is the 5th letter. And just looking at the paleo of this, there was one thing that impressed upon me when I was learning. Anytime anyone is having respiratory problems like children, the one thing we would look for is posturing or positioning, and it kind of looks like this, like you're going to try to spread your chest out when you're having issues. But that just impressed that on me. And the hay is renewing. So as we breathe in the act of inspiration and expiration, during that, there is the exchange of gas from the alveoli. Those are at the very end of our pathway, the respiratory pathway. Those are the teeny tiny little air sacs. And that is where the oxygen and carbon dioxide are exchanged through that area. So that is exactly where the renewing is coming about, that then delivers oxygen to our cells. It removes the waste gases, including the carbon dioxide from your body. So
now this is amazing,
right?
That this whole thing that we've got the yod, the dalet, the hay, which is to praise, yada, to praise, right? To
With
praise
our
Maker. And it's involving our breath. I thought this was fascinating here, even when we look at this creation number of 7, that the nose, the mouth, the farnex, the larnix, the trachea, bronchi, and lungs, the 7 things involved. Amazing. I'm sorry for interrupting you.
No. And as I know we're going to be working on this somehow in a written form, and I am actually in the process of breaking down those 7, that creation number, and those body pathology, those areas, those 7 areas with the actual creation days. And I'm doing that within each of the body systems, because I am finding that number 7, the creation number 7, in all of them. And it just is mind blowing to me. I cannot even believe what I'm finding as I dig in. The numbers that you're going to see repeated are in every single one. And boy, isn't that just like the Father? He made us to be a living tabernacle, and we're going to see the correlation between our body and what had to be made in the desert, where he could be there in and about, or in the actual tabernacle where all the tribes were around, right?
Yeah. So I want to ask you a question at the same time. I'm going to show you a couple of comments here. So we've got Tammy with us. Thank you, Tammy.
Hi,
we
Tammy.
appreciate that.
Thank
you. We've got Doug saying hello. Thank you so much. Here, the Colettis here. So glad to have you guys here.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So when I looked at this, so I start counting right away. Like when we're here at the Dalit, this one is fascinating me. We've got the nose, the mouth, the Farnex and the Larnix. What is a Farnex and what is a Larnix?
So the Farnex is the back of your throat, but your larynx is where your voice box is at. So the air actually has to pass through that for you to be able to speak.
Oh, okay.
Right. So it's so important for those structures. Speech comes from there. It's not just breathing. It has to do even with our ability to speak. And I was thinking, Yahudah and their importance. I don't want to get ahead of myself, but yes, they became like they were the number one, right? They were first in the marching order. And look at who comes from them. Like I don't want to get ahead of myself because that'll get there, but we'll get there. But it struck me that this system is going to have to do with our speech and our smell, which are major components that we use to live. We see also Yahuah says our prayers are a sweet and savory incense that rise. Like this all has to do with our senses, and we're not the only ones with senses. We were made in his image. So if he says he can smell it, and whether it's sweet or not sweet, then he has the same senses we have. And that's what we need to understand, is he made us in his image. So all of these things have such significance. They just really do.
Amazing. Right. I'm loving the paleo too.
Oh, I love it too.
Yeah,
I love it. And it's for, like so you said, it's for everyone to understand,
Yeah, absolutely.
So then we get to the total is 19. And when you break that 19 down, there's the yod, the hand of redemption or work, which is the 10, plus the 9, which is the tet. Now, this blew me away also, because that is surrendered authority, right? So the hand of redemption and the surrendered authority, which to me, praying on this and looking at it, the Father showed me that's the action of in or out in respiration. Wow. And the deeper meaning I found there, and I remember this from studying, Dr. Pigeon even touched on this, the deeper meaning of the parts of Tet, which is the Vav and the Zion, are the same as the parts of Het. And let's see here, it's the man that is in rebellion before Yahweh, or the man that is surrendered to him. So you're either in opposition or you're surrendered down, right? To me, when you breathe in, to take a breath in, that's the active process of that diaphragm pulling down to allow the oxygen in, as in rebellion, and then the lungs are full of oxygen and standing upright, like they're at full capacity. And then when you breathe out, that's to empty the air of the lungs, and it deflates, and that's to me the submissive state, right? Defiant, and then to be in the submissive state. And wow, that just absolutely blew me away. I could not believe that.
Very interesting.
It is. So I just wanted to show the path of air because, we saw the Dalet in Yahudah, right? So this is literally the path of air. And what does that look like to you? That's like a corridor. I've seen so many maps that you've shown and other studies I've seen on their time in the wilderness. And even as it gets down into the lungs, how they wandered around, basically. There was quite a trip that they took. And it's even reflective to me within the lungs themselves. But this is the pathway. And isn't that amazing? And just absolutely blew me away. The Yahweh's design is just, to me, I don't know how anyone could not look at this and realize everything had a purpose, and he knew it from the minute that he pulled us out of the dirt and miry clay, right? He already knew what we were going to be. So as I've dug in with your wonderful work and looking through other works that I've found, the tribe of Yahudah was the head of their division, which included the Zebulun, which is the lymphatic system that we'll get into, which is also a secondary circulatory system. Wow. So within our respiratory system, so we're talking about Yahudah, and these were the another tribe that was in their camp. Yep. Their corresponding body system is the intrapulmonary lymph nodes within the lungs. So that removes all the fluids that leak out of the blood vessels and acts as a sewage system. Wow. Very key component to go along with the respiratory system. Otherwise, we would fill up with fluid in our lungs, and have infection. They also deal with cancer cells to get the cancer cells out of our lungs.
Yeah, that's amazing. When we're talking about like this marching order in the wilderness, first went the ark, right? They were the first, and so you've got the main priesthood right there with the ark, Erin, and and then you've got Yahudah right there, and which means praise, and that's the rear guard, and then comes Yissachar, and then which we've lined up with the nervous system, which we'll be talking about today, and then comes in Zebulun next, which we've lined up with this lymphatic system. Very, very interesting.
And very important for them to work together. So all of them together in the marching order had their specific roles, right? And they had to work together within their camps. Next, hi, Chris and Karen. All kinds of people, all of our people showing up. I'm so excited because this is great. So also within, we're going to be talking next about Yissachar, but I wanted to touch briefly here they relate to the nervous system, and those major points are the medulla pons, the cerebral cortex. Those are the two portions of the nervous system that relate to the respiratory. So they regulate the ventilation. And without our medulla pons and the cerebral cortex, we would not get the information to breathe. Right. So airway and breathing are our first two critical assessments we make in a trauma situation. The most important to maintain homeostasis, or our ABCs, which is airway, breathing, and circulation.
And those three line up right there to the tribes right there. Airway, breathing, for what's coming first. Wow. Yes. Amazing.
Isn't that amazing?
Shalom, Sherry. Good to see you here with us.
Yes. And that just blew me away. Like, I spent quite a time going, am I reading this right? And flipping back through and pulling out circulatory and pulling out lymphatic system, which, it is our second circulatory system, and very, very important. Otherwise, we would have infection and cancer everywhere. So all these tribes also had to work together. And that's the one thing that has impressed upon me through prayer with the Father is he's making us understand we need each other. We all need each other, just as within our body, within the body of Yahusha. And these are the components of the body of Yahusha. That's something that he keeps showing me over and over and over as I go through this, is we're all scattered, but we're all part of this body of Yahusha. And look at how important each of us are, right?
Yeah. You know, what's funny about that, when we started this, after I shared it with you, then I started a huge word study just on the body. And I do have, when we get all done today, I have one scripture out of 1 Corinthians to share that just blew me away when I saw it earlier. Yeah. Talking about the whole body.
Right, right. So Yahweh formed us from the dirt and miry clay, and he breathed life in through our nostrils. Yahudah was given the birthright over his brothers due to the misconduct of Reuben, committed against Jacob and with his concubine, and the bloody revenge taken by Simeon and Levi following the rape of Dinah, thus reaffirming the giving of the breath of life with the coming of our Messiah. That really has hit me in this more than anything, is that we needed that reaffirming of the breath of life of Yahusha. And that's the importance of Yahudah, isn't it? I mean, wow.
Yeah. Well, in the name itself, we've got that hey twice, that breath, you know, the 2 times. Right. I mean, just absolutely amazing.
And I'd added in here, we also see our respiratory system is responsible for our ability to speak, passing air through our larynx. As a mouthpiece for Yahweh, the tribe of Yahudah produced the literary prophets of Isaiah, Amos, Habakkuk, Joel, Micah, Obadiah, Zechariah, Zephaniah, all belonging to the tribe of Yahudah. So that's our ability to speak that came right from the tribe of Yahudah.
Amazing.
Right?
Absolutely amazing. Yes.
So that was what I was going to include for the respiratory, because there's so much even in
Yeah. So, okay. Amazing. Well, are you ready for me to then share a little bit about Yissachar before you begin to talk to us about the nervous system with Yissachar?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Wonderful. So I'm going to add mine to the stream. So for the heart of Yissachar, what the psalm that I was given was Psalm 119, 11 through 13, that this would express how we could recognize the cry of the heart, how you recognize this tribe, right? Your word have I hid in my heart, that I might not sin against you. Blessed are you, O Yahweh. Teach me your statutes. With my lips, I have declared all the judgments of your mouth. So the key to understanding the heart of Yissachar is the watchman. The book of 1 Chronicles 12 tells the story of the kingdom changing hands from Shaul to David. It lists by tribe who was on Yahweh's side to establish David on the throne. Of Yissachar, it says in verse 33, of the descendants of Yissachar, men who understand the times and knew what Yasharel ought to do. There were 200 leaders, and all their kinsmen were under their command. So we get such a strong picture of the strength of this tribe from that one incident, right? We see men who understood Yahweh's times and seasons, who understood the times of the world, what was happening in the world, right? I believe we are beginning to see the tribe of Yissachar reemerge in this day as leaders during this time. And their purpose is to help the rest of Yasharel realize where we are on Yah's timetable. You're really seeing this gifting come forth so much right now at this time. In Genesis chapter 30, verses 14 through 18, this is the story of how Yissachar came into the world. It says, and Reuben went in the days of the wheat harvest and found mandrakes in the field and brought them under his mother, Leah. Now, mandrakes were considered to be like a fertility fruit, right? Then Rachel said to Leah, give me, I pray you, of your son's mandrakes, because Rachel had never had a child yet. And Leah said unto her, is it a small matter that you've taken my man? right? She's like, you've already taken his affection. He doesn't have affection towards me. You got all of that, right? That you would also take away my son's mandrakes too. You know, this is my one chance to increase my own fertility to continue to give him sons, which seems to be the only reason he's coming to me right now, right? Very interesting. And Rachel said, therefore he shall lie with you tonight for your son's mandrakes. So she's like, okay, well, here's what I'll do. If you'll give me the mandrakes so that I can have fertility, these fertility fruit, well, then I'll let him lay with you he can come to your tent tonight. Right? So she was like hired, right? So, and Elohim hearkened unto Leah, and she conceived and bore Yaakov the 5th son. And Leah said, and this was Leah's 5th son. Okay. 9th son total, but 5th son to Leah. Okay. And Leah said, Elohim has given me my hire because I've given my maiden to my man. And she called his name Yissachar. The name Yissachar comes from 2 root words. The first one is nasa. And I've got it here in the paleo. So we've got a noon here. We've got a samach, and then we have a hey. So nasa, and it's just like NASA, very interesting, right? Yeah. Means to lift up. Well, what does NASA do but, right, send up rockets, right? So to lift up. Okay, to bear up, to carry, to support, sustain, endure, forgive, be exalted, to lift oneself up, rise up, to aid or assist, to cause, to bring. Okay, so the word picture is like life support. Oh, behold, life is being supported, right? Hey, look at this. Life is being supported. Okay, so then the second root word to Issachar is sakar, and the word means higher, you know. So here you see it in the paleo. We've got a sakar, we have a shin, we have a cough, and we have a resh. So the word picture is for the shin, it always looks like a mouthful of teeth. And what do you do with teeth except chew something up to devour it, disintegrate it, break it down, right? And then cough, it is an open palm. It's the hand, but it's an open hand. So it's the palm of the hand. Also, it's considered like the wing of the father, or, you know, the wing of a bird, something that would shelter, something that would give protection. And then we have resh, which is also like for Rosh, like the head, you know, Rosh, like the head of the month. Rosh Hodesh would be the head of the month. And so you've got the head, but you've definitely got the man of mind. It corresponds with like prince, like a prince, a leader, a chief, a head. So the word picture, when destruction comes, submit your mind under the hand of Yahuah. Now, I always say when I give these word pictures, mine is not necessarily the only interpretation or the best interpretation. Somebody else may see something different. This is the wonder of the pictographic language. So all I can do is give you what Yah showed me. It doesn't mean if he shows Lee something else that one of us is wrong. It doesn't mean if in the audience you see something else that you're wrong or that I'm wrong. It just means he's giving a further understanding, you know, from a different vantage point. And so that's what I love about it. We can all learn from each other with this. It's a pure language, right? So here's what I saw. When destruction comes, submit your mind under the hand of Yahuah. Put your mind under the wing of the Father. The wing of the Father's protection is between your mind and destruction, right? Because that's what we see. Okay. So we see the naming of Yissachar. His name means he will bring a reward. In Strong's and in the Brown Driver Briggs, it says there is a recompense. A further look in word studies, when I dug out some of my other lexicons and other different reference books I have, and I put my mind on it, to me, it gave the connotation that Yissachar means to be a hired laborer, right? That he was a purchased laborer, that he was hired, you know, he was created basically to bring forth a burden of labor. You see this, we've got in the full name, we've got a yod, the right hand of the Father extended, the right hand extended. And you've got two sheens, a double sheen, right? So very interesting. When something is repeated twice or three times, it's being emphasized, it's even more, right? And so we have that with the chewing, and then the palm, and then the hand, right? So I didn't map out a word picture, but I wanted to show you the paleo. So in Jacob's prophecy, it shows Yissachar is a hard worker who bears burdens. In fact, he's got a double burden, it says, right? There's like one on each side. It says Yissachar is a strong donkey lying down in the sheep sheds. On seeing how good is a settled life and how pleasant the country, he will bend his back to the burden and submit to a forced labor. Very interesting right there, how it all comes together between the prophecy and the name. Now, the banner that they carried personally. So when we're seeing how this is set up in the Mishkan, surrounding the Mishkan, which is the tabernacle, and then the standards on each side, and you've got the four standards and how they camped in the wilderness. We had the lead banners, but then each tribe still had their own banner also that they carried for their tribe in the march, right? So they're underneath the lion banner as the four faces around the throne, but their individual banner is a donkey, and the donkey that is crouching underneath two burdens. This is the symbol that they carried, their ensign, their sign, if you will, the oat, right? The Vav Aleph Tav that they carried. Okay. And so I found this very interesting because I always think about it. They've got a burden of the word. They've got a burden of studying in the tents and understanding the word of Yah, understanding the times of the world. There's this double, this both, and then they've got the double shin, right? So I just thought that was interesting. I've been lately lining up the different tribes with also the minor prophets. And so what I saw here was in Amos 3, 6, and 7, it says, shall a shofar be blown in the city, and the people be not afraid? Shall there be evil in a city, and Yahuah has not done it? Surely Adonai Yahuah will do nothing, but he reveals his secret unto his servants, the prophets. And there's a real prophetic burden when you can see in the supernatural realm the things that Yah is showing with you out of his word that are for this particular time, and then have that burden of trying to share that with the world, with who in the world is willing to have their ears that will hear and be snatched up out of the world, to be willing to share this with all of Yasharel so that they can take that word and share it with those in the world that can hear their particular voice. So Yissachar has a burden, he has a burden to all the tribes to share what that is, because it says that he would be able to understand times and seasons, understand the word, studying in his tent, and it would know what Yasharel as a whole ought to be doing at this time. Wow, what a burden to be carrying, right? Wow. Okay. Yeah. So then in Deuteronomy, we see what Moses, what he says in Deuteronomy 33, 18 and 19. Moses links Zebulun and Yissachar in his prophecy that they will summon the people to the mountain to offer sacrifices of righteousness, right? This is come up to the mountain of Yah, right? Come up to Yah's place, hear his voice from on high. Okay, so he says in his prophecy, rejoice, Zebulun, as you go forth, and Yissachar in your tents, right? Because they're studying, they're getting it figured out. They're putting their mind to the word of Yah. They will summon the peoples to the mountain and there offer righteous sacrifices, for they will draw from the abundance of the seas and from the hidden treasures of the sand. And we'll get into that more when we get to Zebulun. Okay. So what I had seen in this was in a very evangelistic gifting in Zebulun, working with the prophetic gifting in Yissachar in these last days. Zebulun is said to go out into the seas. The seas many times represent the masses of humanity in Scripture. Yissachar studies in his tents, and that study, it's the study that brings forth truth. It calls people back to the mountain where Moshe received the Torah. Then righteous sacrifices can be offered. The stone on the breastplate for Yissachar is the amethyst. It's aklama in Hebrew. I did put it here in the word picture. We've got the aleph, we've got a het, a lamed, a mem, and a hey. What I got for the word picture was strong division, like the het is like a fence, leads the leadership of the lamed through the chaotic waters. Behold, he's going to help us navigate. The tribe of Issachar will help us navigate through this chaos that we find ourselves in this day that we live in. Right. And so what Yah showed me was this lines up with the nervous system. And so I had put this down here for my reward with the Sakar is how I had kind of zeroed in when I was looking at it. But it's the brain, the nerves, the spinal cord, the body's speedy electrochemical communication system consisting of all the nerve cells of the peripheral and the central nervous systems. It enables thinking, self-awareness, and manages our emotions. And so that leads us back to you, Leigh, with an understanding on this nervous system.
Well, I got to tell you, this was actually the first one I started working on, and I'm still working on it because there's so much here. And boy, is it true that Yissachar has the burden of knowledge. He has the burden of work on him, and that's simply because of, relates directly to our nervous system, because the burden of who we are, our personality, our intrinsic things that happen that we're unaware of, breathing, our heart beating, all these hormones that we need to function all rely on our nervous system, right? On all the various parts, right down to just our very being, our very personality, our pineal gland. And so many different religions and beliefs, they call that the third eye. It is responsible for hormone release that literally guides everything that happens in our body, including sleep, right? So I'm going to share my screen here for this one. And I did the same thing you did. I broke this down as the Shin Coffin Resh. And again, he's leading me to the numbers because within our body systems, you're going to see how important numbers are going to be across the board, from our 4 chambers of our heart and on. It's just amazing how it works out. So the Shin, eat, consume, destroy, like you said. And in the Aleph Toph body system book that I looked through, it's put there as the wise flame. And that struck out at me because we're talking about the nervous system, right? So that's where our thoughts come from, our reasoning, our knowledge, our memory. It can carry a similar meaning of relative pronouns in English, that, which, and who, which made sense to me in the nervous system. That, to me, that's like our reasoning area, to understand that, which, and who. You have to have memory and reasoning and that ability. And it is one of the 7 letters which receive special crowns. I did not know this, but upon looking, they're called the Tagin. And when written, and they're written in the Sefer Torah. So there's 7 letters that receive that within the Torah. Shin also stands for the word Shaddai, and is the reason a Kohen or a priest forms the letter Shin with his hands when he recites the priestly blessing. And that blew me away too. I was like, wow, that is amazing. And that number is 300. So the Kaf is a 20, and that was crossover of anointing. That was within the Aleph Tav body system, but it's the palm of the hand and to open. And I have searched and looked through so many things, and this kind of threw me a loop. I found it on HebrewForChristians.com, which was actually a very good site if you're learning the basics in Hebrew, biblical Hebrew. And it made the notation that Kaf, when prefixed, means like or as, and the letter Kaf resembles the letter Bet, which we understand to be a picture of our Messiah. You mentioned that when we prefix ourselves to the Messiah, we will be conformed to his image. And since Kaf pictures the palm of our hands, we moreover resemble the Messiah in our work and sacrifice for others. And we know that Yissachar, hard working, they had a burden upon them for hard work, right?
Yeah.
So the last one was the Resh, and that's 200. The head person, crown of wisdom, head person first. All of those things fit with the nervous system completely. Again, just blew me away. It's just it's constant reaffirming that this is the system that goes with Yissachar to me. Like it screams Yissachar to me the whole time. And the gematria of the 520 was the Kaf and the Kaf Sophet, which was a merciful judge and crossover of anointing. And I just see Messiah in that. I just do. I see it. One fun fact I found was that in 2016, they found supposedly the fossil of the oldest nervous system found was a crustacean-like creature that they estimated at 520 million years old. Now, I'm not sure about the million years old, but I found that rather interesting when I was searching nervous system and things like that. It was like, wow, that's just random for that number to be that. Yissachar did have an understanding of the sun, moon, and stars with the knowledge of astronomy and calendar because they knew the time and the seasons, right?
Right.
So that's a burden also to know those things. And I really got blown away when I found this.
Wow.
So like you said, they had 200 chiefs. The Yissachar tribe had 200 chiefs. The brain has 200 billion neurons, and they approximate 20 billion trillion stars in our universe, or 200 billion trillion stars in our universe, and 200 billion in our Milky Way. But look at how they match. This is our brain cell, and this is a galaxy. And we know the Father made the heavens and the earth, and he made us. And I just couldn't help but see so much similarity between the two, you know?
Yeah. It's really amazing.
Isn't it? And so intricate. And when you dig into what neurons do and how they function with each other, each has their own specific function, and almost like they're each their own little self in relation to where they're located. They each have their own separate personality, so to speak.
Wow.
Isn't that beautiful, though? Like, look,
it really is. It's just incredible.
It is. When I don't know how you could look at these and not see our Father in the grand design of things, you know?
Yeah.
Absolutely beautiful. So here we go with the creation number again. There's 7 major components of the nervous system: the spinal cord, medulla, the pons, the cerebellum, the midbrain, the diencephalon, and the cerebral hemispheres. Very reflective of the 7 days of creation. And like I said, I'm still researching this out more in depth. And Chelle and I are working on how to put these things together in a more tangible where you can read through it, but that is going to finish out being just absolutely amazing. And here's the 4 main functions of the nervous system. That number 4 also, 4 chambers to the heart, and so many other reflective through our systems. It controls our body's internal environment to maintain homeostasis, programming of spinal cord reflexes, memory, learning, and voluntary control of movement. Think of that burden that you were talking about with the heart. What a burden. Everything, like I said, relies on our nervous system, and it is so very deep. Yissachar again had with the knowledge of the sun, moon, stars, the times and calendar. Their descendants were seen as being dominated by religious scholars, so they were very smart, very, very smart. Which we wouldn't have our intelligence without our nervous system.
That's right.
It's kind of have to have that. They were noted in 1 Chronicles 12:32. As you said, they had the understanding of the times to know what Israel ought to do, right?
Yeah.
I spelled that wrong, but ought to do. And Revelation 7:7 notes that there were sealed 12,000 of the 144,000 of all tribes of the children of Yasharel. Yissachar most definitely lines up with our nervous system, where knowledge and memory are even made possible. Amazing. And that burden, I didn't put it in the slide because there was so much information with the 12 cranial nerves. That's another thing I'm going to have to get into to break down, because there literally is so much correlation there. Even just getting through the first several is like, wow. So there's 12 cranial nerves that control your sensory and motor functions, connecting your brain to your body. The 12 tribes of Israel, Jacob's name given by Yah, and their responsibilities in the wilderness are reflective of the workings in all of our body systems. It makes sense that within the intricacies of thought, knowledge, and memory, that we would find all 12 working together. I will be continuing to line up the 12 cranial nerves and their respective tribes as well. See, that's a whole nother part. It's not just that there's the 12 tribes and just 12 body systems, but then within each body system, I'm also finding correlation to the 12 tribes broken down, that here we are with them together, even down to cellular and nervous levels of our body.
Yeah, I mean, look, we're finding 4s, which is, the 4 standards, and the scattering out into the 4 corners of the nations, right? The scattering out into the nations. We're finding 7s, and we've got the 7, ruachs that were given, that we might, his 7 breaths, that we might be able to operate in his ways and in his systems. We're finding the 12s over and over. I bet you we're going to find some 10s, and that lining up with his commands. I mean, really interesting.
Well, I'm just finding his fingerprints everywhere, everywhere within us, and talking about their burdens in the 12 cranial nerves. Just to touch on some. Our ability to see, smell, taste, smile, frown, cry, hear, our vagus nerve that runs through our neck and down actually tells every system what to do. And when that's pinched, like I have dealt with, it can really wreak havoc on everything. And I'm sure when just one thing went wrong with one tribe, it threw a wrench in everything, and things broke down. But just amazing the depth that's there just within our 12 cranial nerves, and them matching up with the 12 tribes. I cannot believe how amazing. Well, I can. I mean, the Father did this, and he knew, we were going to be the living tabernacle.
Right.
He knew that when he made us, and he knew that there would be that space in the wilderness that would have very specific definitions of who did what and what was in it and how it all worked together. And it's the same, it was same for us in the beginning, because his creation within us is absolutely spectacular. And it's reflective, if you ask me, of all of his other creations, and that's where I went. We are the living tabernacle. He made us as a blueprint for the tabernacle that was erected in the wilderness. And Yahweh knew what was needed and necessary for us to be able to come to him for both times. Right. Prior to Yahusha, our Yeshua, we were not able to be in his presence. Now we are a part of the body of Yahusha and the living tabernacle, which to me is just amazing in itself, that he came and he gave his life for us. It's absolutely amazing and beautiful. And going through here, Chelle, has just been such a blessing, and hasn't even been a struggle. The struggle is staying on track and not going from one to the other, because as I see something here, it makes me realize that has to do with this other one. So then I'm jumping over there. I'm having to keep myself focused on just one at a time. You stay in your lane right now is what I keep telling myself.
Absolutely. This has just been so interesting. I came across one other thing here. Let me make sure.
You want me to, that was my last part, so I can take myself out.
Okay. I lost my screen for a minute, so let me get back to where I'm at. There we go. Okay. Oop. Yes. Leigh, are you still there? There you are. Okay. All right. So let me get up what I had to share on this. Y'all know I don't drive that well.
I don't either. And I feel like our technology fights us every time we have something so wonderful to talk about, like yesterday. Was like,
Yeah, I had something pretty cool I wanted to show you. So let me see if I can get it back up here for a minute. I had it all clicked up, and of course, that's exactly what happens in the technology, right? Okay. So
now I can't hear you. Are you muted? Nope, can't hear you. Oh no, we lost her. She'll be back, I'm sure. I'll just go in a little bit more while she's trying to get back up. Oh, there she is. Here she comes.
It totally is kicking me off whatsoever. So I'm still trying to get this thing open, because it is really cool. Let me see if I can try one more time to see if I can get this thing to load, and maybe it won't kick me off.
I think the main thing that blew me away was seeing the neuron and the galaxy, the Crab Nebula side by side. Wasn't that just amazing?
Yeah, it really is. And so I had just found this one thing that I thought was pretty cool, and I'm going to share that now. Okay.
Awesome.
So, this was dealing with our risk of cell phones and the EMF, right? And so it's a good article about it. They're obviously trying to sell something, but what I wanted to look at here, it's explaining, all the effects, but this is what I thought was cool, because we were dealing with the nervous system in the brain. So this is the heat generated on the face by 15 minutes of cell phone use due to the electromagnetic radiation, and just looking at the way that it just lights up, and so the effect that this has. Mm-hmm. So I had just wanted to share that one little thing there, that picture, and show everybody what that one was.
Right.
Now let me
Sherry was
see.
saying she puts hers on speakerphone away from her face, and that's
I
why
did too.
back in the early days when cell phones first came out, I did know several, I think at least 2 patients that ended up with tumors behind their ear that, although benign, I feel were related to the cell phone use, because both of them had used their cell phones a lot and would be on the
Yeah.
phone for business and work. And I'm talking huge tumors growing out directly behind their ear.
Wow.
You know, you think about, you're holding that up to the side of your head, and the radiation is affecting your trigeminal nerve. One of those cranial nerves, of the 12 cranial nerves, branches from your ear to your eye, your nose, and down to your mouth. So it's
Yeah.
like, it looks like a shin, right? It's
Yeah.
got the 3. So it looks exactly like that coming off of your ear. So
Wow.
yes. Didn't you have it was the EMF that affected the nervous system? What was
Um,
the?
yeah, that was what I thought, that
And I
EMF,
agree. I
yeah,
agree.
affected the nervous system. And it reminds me, I don't know if everybody else realizes, but I used to listen to Brad Scott a lot. He was one of my favorite Torah teachers. I discovered him back in like 2004, 2005, and he died of a brain tumor.
Mm-hmm.
And that was what he shared, even when he shared at Bill Cloud's 2020 Shavuot, I believe it was, and he died not long after that. But he shared that Yah had showed him that, and I believe he was one of those, a modern day Yissachar. You just saw it in the way that he taught, and the burden in that prophetic voice. And he shared that Yah had revealed to him that he spent so much time like this, that thing literally went directly and caused a tumor. And so that's what we've got. We've just, especially for those of us, that are really compelled to do a lot of studying, a lot of our study comes through technology today. So it's just kind of a reminder to be careful that this is also what the enemy is going to use to try to take us out. And so we want to be careful about that. Now, I found this one scripture that, I love Bill Cloud, and I loved Brad Scott, and they were just best friends. And I listened to them for a long, long time, and still do. To Bill Cloud, I still enjoy his ministry quite a bit. He's got Jacob's Tent.
Yeah, we do
Yeah.
too. And I'm so glad you brought that up, because we had heard of him, but I didn't even know that he had a YouTube. And that is a very wonderful, he's got a great presentation on Shabbats.
Yeah, he certainly does.
Mm-hmm.
And so anyway, the last thing that I had to share today, and next week when we come back, we're gonna Lee's gonna come back with me, and we're gonna cover Zebulun, and so we'll be looking at that lymphatic system too. So really, really interesting. But the last thing I wanted to share today was this scripture that I found. I just wanted to read it out. It's something for us to meditate on concerning the body. Okay, so with everything we have shared in mind, and thinking of us as being the body of Yahusha, here it is, and it's about the resurrected body. So the resurrection body, and this is coming out of the Sefer. It's found in 1 Corinthians 15, and I'm starting in verse 35. It says, "But some man will say, how are the dead raised up? And with what body do they come? You fool, that which you saw is not quickened, except it die. And that which you sow not, that the body shall be but bare grain. It may chance of wheat or of some other grain, but Elohim gives it a body as it has pleased him, and to every seed his own body. And all flesh is not the same flesh, but there's one kind of flesh of men, another of beasts, another of fish, another of birds. There are also celestial bodies and bodies terrestrial." This reminds me exactly of your pictures, right?
Right.
"But the glory of the celestial is one, and the glory of the terrestrial is another. There's one glory of the sun and one glory of the moon and another glory of the stars. For one star differs from another star in glory. So also is the resurrection of the dead. It is sown in corruption, it is raised in incorruption. It is sown in dishonor, it is raised in glory. It is sown in weakness, it is raised in power. It is sown a natural body, it is raised a spiritual body. There's a natural body and there's a spiritual body. And so it is written, the first man, Adam, was made a living soul. The last Adam was made a quickening ruach. Howbeit that was not first, which is spiritual, but that which is natural, and afterward that which is spiritual. The first man is of the earth, earthy. The second man is yahuah, from heaven. As is the earthy, such are they also that are earthy, and as is the heavenly, such are they also that are heavenly. And as we have borne the image of the earthy, we shall also bear the image of the heavenly.
Wow.
So I just thought that was just really interesting.
How beautiful. And reflective of, weren't you talking not long ago about the coats of the skin coats that Yahuah and Adam was given to wear, and agree that their bodies were of light.
Yes.
And they had to have the skin put on so that they could exist in this plane instead of the heavenly plane.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
And how amazing that is. Like, I've even researched into that at that moment of sin, some believe that's when blood entered our body for the first time, because then we had an expiration date, right?
Right.
Because he said an expiration date, you know.
Yeah.
It's just amazing.
It really is. It's amazing. Well, this has been so interesting. Thank you, Leigh, so much for coming on with me. I can hardly wait even for next week, because
I know it's going to be exciting. And it just gets more exciting. And I think we're going to see exactly how much intertwining that there is.
Yeah. I think so. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Well, audience, I just want to thank you. If you're watching live or if you watch in the future, may Yahweh bless you and keep you. May his face shine upon you and give you of his shalom. We thank you for being with us and hope that you'll come back and join us next time. Now, Leigh and James, you'll be on just a couple of hours, right?
Yes. And we're going to talk about Shabbat does the body good.
Oh, awesome. So that'll be The River and the Ravens, and that is at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Well, I hope everybody will come back and join us then. And thank you for being with us. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Their journey began in Yissachar, but they were scattered across the face of the earth, each one with its own beats, and each one with its own rhythm. As the dry bones are being revived, the beat begins again at the heart of the tribe.